God. Look at God coming through.
Come on, fucking it up. We already know. All right, we're gonna start recording in 3, 2, 1, and welcome back to another episode of DearRDG. This is episode 64. We come to you hot and fresh off the press. Quick thing. DearRDG is a podcast that is focused on lifestyle, culture, and just getting the Black American ass experience. I don't know why I tried to do something new today. But either way, DearRDG is a podcast that is meant to bring y'all some Black culture. And, you know, we're more like the responsible breakfast club, if you want to call us that. Like, we're more socially responsible and shit. So,
what's brunch club?
The what?
The brunch club. You know
what? I like brunch. It's a little bit more bougie. The bougettos be going there and shit. We out here. We can be classy, but a little ratchet. Like, we like a day party kind of vibe. Let's have a good conversation and then like throw it.
Where are my mimosas?
Right, waffles with the chicken.
Honestly, we do need those mimosas back. I miss them so much.
And I need mimosas.
Oh, this is ghetto. And to support us, if you would like to support us, we know it's in the time of COVID, but if you want to become a patron of the DearRDG podcast, you can go to patreon.com/DearRDG. That's DearRDG, stylized, and you can commit as low as $2 a month. That is $24 a year. And we also understand we are in the time of COVID. Corona, the Rona, Miss Rona, whatever you want to call her, right? She's fucking shit up for everybody. So if you cannot monetarily support us, we would also love if you shared that you were listening to this podcast, leave us 5-star review on the podcast, wherever you're streaming these podcasts, subscribe to this here podcast, and also subscribe to all of our individual ventures, because we don't only just do a podcast over here. We got Miss Marie, Sykes is the limit, the travel tip queen, gang, 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 gang. So make sure, subscribe, Sykes is the limit. On her YouTube. Oh, we got a new video coming soon too? Period. We love to see that. Love to see it. Then we also got Miss Blogger, the activist. Okay. No Black Girl Left Behind. Miss Brianna Tyson. Gang, 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 gang. All right.
For all social medias.
All social medias. And also make sure that you follow Mr. D. Will, our reverse colorist, all in the building, but he is not here right now.
Because he's
resident light skin. Newfound father just released a track called Chakra Flows. So make sure you stream that wherever you stream your music. And make sure if you got Tidal, make sure you stream it on Tidal, because that's where you get the most money from. Because Tidal pays them more. So just remember that. And then you can also follow my shit, you know, Marquise Davon, This American Negro. New episodes come every Wednesday, and that's on Period. Cool. I took a break last week because I released 4 episodes the week before. And it's just tired.
That's a lot.
You know what? That part. We out of here. But that's a smooth transition right into the how was your freaking week, everybody?
My week was good. I did not do that much. I went to work. What else did I do? Damn, I did not do a damn thing. It was actually a very quiet week for me, besides the mundane, 9 to 5. I just been chilling. That's me, just chilling. What about you guys?
I had the week off. What they're trying to do was 1 week on, 1 week off, so they don't expose us to COVID. But for the most part, I just kind of organized my room, put up LED lights in my room, and now I'm gonna film. And I went on a lot of enjoying outside. The weather has been amazing, and I'm filming for YouTube and just trying to. That's pretty much it. That's all I did, because I have to work tomorrow. Back for the week on.
Well, at least you got to do something productive for yourself, and I'm so glad that your YouTube is back up.
Love to see it.
We were feeding for a second.
Listen, I'm trying to bring back, my quarantine haul, because I can admit I've done a lot of shopping during this quarantine haul. I have. There's been a package, 2 package every day,
Honestly, I'm not even mad at you because the way that I've been like, I never online shopped before. And the way that I bought this desk, the way that I built this bookshelf yesterday, and then I got my bed stuff, and I got the chair, and I've just been ordering more and more books and just like reading so many books lately. Like that's really just been it. I got 3 more books on the way. I got what else did I just order? Oh, I'm gonna order like a webcam so I have like, you know, an actual.
You said you've been shopping.
Yeah, because niggas been actually doing really good on their money. Very good.
Black man with benefits.
Yeah, I didn't say benefits, but the money part, niggas got money.
What books have you been ordering?
So I got I Don't Want to Die Poor by Michael Arsenault. So this is just like a very casual read off of like student debt and like his experience of just being broke, also like being creative in the industry. So that's been really cool to read his essays on that. All Boys Aren't Blue. So George M. Johnson just released this book. So that's going to be interesting to read about the Black queer identity, but also like what it means to be a Black femme. But it's kind of like his own memoir as well. So I'm excited to see what that is. The other books that I got is Outliers, The Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell. So that was recommended by some people on the grapevine. So I'm excited to kind of see what that looks like, just in terms of like where I'm at as a creative and like getting to this next level with the team and stuff. And then the last one was recommended to me. It's called Buck, which is another memoir. So it's a coming of age story in urban America. But basically it's just like telling this another story, but people getting educated through rap, gang culture, all of that stuff. So I'm excited to get into each of these books. And then I also have, you know, the regulars coming in too. So some Black liberation books. So I have Assata Shakur's biography coming in, Malcolm X's biography coming in.
I have that book and well, I gave it to Day Day. He never gave it back.
Yeah, because I was like, I read these in college, but I was like, I didn't like fully like appreciate them because sometimes I just got them done to get my assignment done, but I want to like revisit and sit down with them. So I was like, let me just have these books so I can own them rather than like do them for an assignment. But yeah, so those are some of the books that I had ordered. And there's one more that I ordered from Uncle Bobby's, but I'm waiting for that to come in. And I think it was something on Black liberation as well. So that was been, yeah, I'm just ordering a lot of books. I'm just trying to make sure I can still support Black authors. I have an art piece coming in. So I've just been like ready to like overhaul this room. Like hopefully by next week, there will be like a tapestry, like a Black Power tapestry on the back of my wall. So that way it's not like all this random white light reflecting off of it and stuff. I'm trying to like get this room to be like a YouTube room so I can start like filming videos and like just tips and stuff. Because a lot of people have just been like asking me for stuff. Like there are 2 people I'm going to help them produce their podcast coming up, which is going to be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like, thanks for asking that question on what I've been reading. How I've been okay. I've been good. I like got Alira, I celebrated her birthday. So I got her, what are these shits called? Jamaican Me Crazy. What are them? Bottle, not sangrias, they're Seagrams. There we go. Yeah, so I like, for her birthday, like everybody was over there. So I just like did like one of them like little contact Johns. So I was just like, hey, here's your alcohol. There you go. Enjoy. $50. So I got to see her for about like 15 minutes. So it's been like weird, like seeing friends, but also like not seeing them because I'm like so used to like just here's the digital stuff. So even then, like the way I'm in contact with her and was just like, I would love to see everybody. I would love to hang out with everybody for like extended periods of time. But it's also just like, here I am with my mask. So I got out of North Philly and went to West Philly for a little bit of the day and was just like, here's what this is. And then had to take my ass home. COVID and respecting Amanda's boundaries. So it's just really, it's been interesting, like having to navigate, like new habits and stuff like that too, because like this is really just like the effect that the Rona's having on me is like I get my insecure Sundays, but other than that, it's just like there's like a weird sense of like lack of routine, but still like most of my routine just includes work. And so I'm just like, this is ghetto. So even yesterday seeing like Alira for a little bit, I was just like, I feel like it's like you're cheating, Amanda. I was like,
you should ask back in the house.
I'm doing like a bad thing. Yeah, so it's just like acknowledging that. But yeah, so it's just been like an interesting time in terms of that. But then it's also like a lot of stuff's been going on with some of my friends and their families. So it's just like there are moments where I just was like my one boy, like he's going through it with a recent passing. Then another friend, they found out like one of their family members had cancer, and then it's like even like with my uncle, like and that stuff. So it's been like a weird moment where just like you want to be with these people and just like talk them through it and shit like that, but you can't all the way like do it. Like it's funny like having to like see somebody and like wave across the street. Like me and Amanda went running, and we're just like. But it's like the only time you get actual like human contact technically is like when I go shopping or when we go shopping. Like you're like, can we just have a coordinated meetup at the the fucking grocery store? Like
yeah.
So it's been an interesting time. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. But yeah. It's been a good week though. It was nice to see Alira's face for a little bit, but it's just like literally like walked in, sprayed the door down. She's like she has like a whole procedure. Like here's the mask, here is like the cover up, here is the wipe down the front door, wipe down the next door, wipe down the next door, go wash your hands, take off your outer layer of clothing. And I said, this is wild. Like but it was just like the safety precautions. It was just like funny, like watching how people interacted. Even like Emilio, he has like 10 different colored gloves. I'm about to be on that wave. Like he has black gloves, he has blue gloves, he has red gloves. And I said, where y'all get all these gloves from? Like it's funny because I was just like, this is really about to be like our new normal for the rest of 2020. So
pretty much.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been good though. It's a good week. We out here. We alive. We chilling.
Well, I'm glad you decided to upgrade your room since you'll be spending most of the time in there. I think it's important that we do that.
The upgrade is something vicious. Like it's been so nice. No, that's a fact.
Well, my sister found a job in Philly for like nursing. So I've been like on my own. I think I might have even mentioned this like a last episode or the episode before. And I was talking about, I'm by myself. And at that point I was very happy like to have this space by myself. But now I'm starting to feel like, if you ever seen the movie, because I'm big on film. So the movie Home Alone, like towards the end when he starts to miss his family, I'm in that part of it. It's just like, damn, I really miss my folks because like I don't get to see nobody. Like I come home to an empty crib, wake up to an empty crib.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think it's healthy to be by yourself, like at all. Like people, you need other people.
You do.
Like it's a sad reality. So it's just like even if you get like that brief time, and maybe it's like an hour, and you're like, this is my brief time with another human. Like this is what I need. Like you don't need to hug, you don't need to do all that extra shit, but it's just like you need to have yourself reflected in somebody else. And sometimes it's not like most times I'm on like FaceTime or Zoom calls now, it's been meetings. I'm just like,
yes,
this is not like the human interaction that I want.
For people to talk about how the economy has slowed down, I feel like this has made it easier for employers to assess, like what am I trying to say? It has made an easier way to access your employee because when I tell you, like that's why I told you I'm very careful in like what I put into our Slack because my Slack be going off and if I turn my head from Slack and I look back, there's 69 messages. All of it. It's like, oh, I missed. Okay, so after a while, I'm just like, Yeah, I'm just gonna sit this
That's
down.
the hard part. Like I was telling Bree before y'all got on here, like I don't like being on my phone anymore. Like anytime I'm on like social media, I'm on my laptop. Like all today, like besides posting that one picture to Instagram, my phone has been on the other side of the room. Like I said, I don't want no contact. I don't feel like dealing with people. Like I don't feel like being on my phone. So I'm on Slack, I'm on my laptop. I'm on Instagram, I'm on my laptop. I'm on Twitter, I'm on my laptop. Like I told Brie I need 2 phones, like one literally for business and the other one for
like regular family and like general emergencies. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like, whew. And I don't know if you guys are into investments, but Slack has gone up because like when they're saying like the economy is backsliding, I guess what they mean is like restaurants and like the airlines and such. But business is still booming, just like any Great Depression. People are still going to find a way to make money.
Right.
It just sucks that we don't have like socialist policies that would allow like people who aren't able to have that like that access would be nice, but different strokes for different folks or whoever.
Right.
Seem to care.
All right. Let's get into this episode because we only have like 15 minutes before our guest hops in. That's what we, just nice to see everybody. So first things first, this is the Give Your Roses section. So this is basically where we just give roses to somebody who's did something really cool, something like really inspiring. So does anybody want to go first? If not, I got 2 roses to give out.
I'll give my roses to everyone that's trying to maintain during the coronavirus. I see you guys out here. A lot of people have figured out to have side hustles and try to flourish during these hard times, and it's never easy to do. You have to be very creative, very determined, and have like an entrepreneur spirit. So anyone out here who has taken lemons and made lemonade, you definitely have my hat's off to you.
Yes, kudos.
Word. Yeah, I'll go next. So first set of roses I want to give is to Amanda Dorsonville, Princess Panda. She a whole ass nurse now. She a nurse. I said, go ahead, friend. Go ahead, friend. Did that accelerated program, all of that stuff. So I was like super proud of her for graduating. So I know like that's still weird, like ass graduation. And then the other person I wrote down to give my roses to is Emmanuel Alexander Coombs Green. Homie he just dropped the website on us.
Smooth dropped the website.
Y'all thought that shit was cute. Y'all out here still working. Like out here, I'm trying to keep up with y'all asses now. Like my website's not due to come out until next month. Like the fuck? Now I want to like get this shit to go out like even faster.
Listen, do it, King.
Yeah, I know, but I got a whole like rollout and shit plan. Like, I can't ever be like real with this shit. At all. Nah, but in all reality, like super, super proud of Manny for dropping the website. It's a clean ass website. Like the photos are all fire. The collaborations are all fire. Like you really found your muses between yourself, Marie, and Ajani. So that was, and Blacks, I mean. So that's been like super cool to see your stuff on the modeling space, but also like you have ownership. They can't tell you nothing. Like your site is your site. Like you need to make money. That's your stuff right then and there. So that's been super dope. So really proud of you for having that sense of ownership and having a space that's just for you. And I'll make sure to put that in the description box below. So make sure you go visit boysonder.com.
Yes, sir.
Period.
Oh, okay. Well, you stole my roses.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
I'll start off with I got a couple other ones. My other ones were for Nurses Week because it was Nurses Week this past. So I went to give my roses to Nurses Week also. Teachers Appreciation Week. They matter just as much. Educators are just as much as important as nurses, in my book. They both matter, especially during this time. It's very essential because I know people are struggling to teach their kids right now at home, and they wish they had those teachers right now.
Look, I miss my kids.
Oh my god! My mom put up a whole post talking about like I forget. Oh my god! Just her timeline and the parents. Oh my god, they are struggling without these teachers. I'm like, Next parent teacher conference, they better bring you guys some roses or something.
Actual roses.
Actual roses.
Right.
Exactly.
Because nurses are really, like, working at the hospital, nurses are really going through it right now because they keep changing things and how COVID and how things are going to work. So every day there's a new update on what we can and cannot do. We don't even have enough equipment. So there's certain things that are being shut down and people are being laid off because we don't have enough equipment to treat the patient. So they're just like, we're just not going to do these services at all. So a lot of people can't even come to their appointments or anything until further notice. So shout out to Nurses Week and being able to be flexible because my sleep schedule is fucked up. 1 minute I'm working 12 to 8. 1 minute I'm working 7 in the morning. 1 minute I'm working 6. 1 minute I'm working 5:30. So my sleep schedule is fucked up. But also, and then my other box of roses was to Manny because he dropped his website finally. I watched him do this website at like 6 in the morning. I'm sleeping and he's up doing his website or whatever the case is. And I told him, I was like, if you surprise and drop this, the people are not going to think of it. They're not going to think like, wow, he dropped the website. It's least expected out of you. So I'm like, you know what? Drop this site, and it came out beautifully. So
It really. I was like very, and you know something is just like. We've been seeing Manny work behind the scenes for like a minute now. So it's just really nice. Like it felt like a gift to me and to everybody else. Like I was like, you know, you put your YouTube back up and him with his website, I was just like, wow, like you guys are like power couple out here.
Sickening. It's like, y'all niggas really can't have it all. Like, first y'all both want to look good. Y'all hair want to be healthy. Y'all want to be modeling and shit. And then the second quarantine together. I hate it here. That's a stab at my self-esteem. The fuck?
Look at your time. You gotta get Marquise, you're getting there. I promise. Just take it.
Look, I told you. Okay, this quarantine look right now got me in a 7.5. Niggas is always a 9.5. I tell you, once the tooth gets fixed, niggas is 11 out of 10. All right? So you
don't be like Fabulous. I was so hurt. Listen.
Who's being like Fabulous?
Listen. Manny's the one who said out here thriving. He's only 20 years old. So imagine when he's like when he's my age, when he's 25, like black don't crack.
He's gonna smoke everybody out. Like, I gotta start putting some work now. Marquise, I need to have you and me have to strategize, and I'm gonna need some of your social media strategies afterwards. These young folks kicking my ass.
You can't let them do it all the time. You know, you gotta step up, keep with the times.
Marquise is in this book though. Marquise got social media on lock.
Exactly.
Period.
Sure do.
Facts. All right, let's get into this next section before our guest gets here. So real quick, we got a Music with Marie segment.
Marie.
We need a theme song.
Yeah, we need to make a theme song for that because I think that theme song would be pretty lit.
I know, it honestly would. But the question for this segment would be, what is your favorite project that dropped so far? Because R&B has been stepping on people's necks. Like,
oh!
Okay, y'all are gonna kill me, Marquise. I'm gonna go first just because. All right, so I really haven't been. I saw Marquise. You've been like putting out post after post, you know, giving musicians their props. Not necessarily because the only thing I've listened to that recently, and I'm gonna quick grab it before you do, is the Kalani album.
That wasn't gonna be on my list, but good album.
All right, yeah, okay, so I was like, oh, you know, I don't know if she can top While We Wait, because that was just a moment for me. Like, it was like While We Wait was just perfect. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know how she can, top herself this time. And the projects sound different to me. Definitely are like different settings, But what I like about this is that I feel like it was very cohesive. She told a story like from beginning to end, and I could really fuck with that. I had to listen to it a couple times. The first time around, I was just like, this, I don't know. It didn't like really resonate. And then the second time is when it resonated. So.
What the hell happened?
I was like, Brie, I know your phone did not just die. I'm cracking up. I am actually screaming.
She gotta do better.
That's a fact. And it's like Bree dropped out and Manny's in the weight room right now. He got there early.
This is hilarious.
I'm cracking up.
What is your favorite project from?
So far, the project that I've been listening to has been like JoJo's album. Like, it's so good. It's so good. I said, sis really came back and like really started talking her shit.
Fuck shit up with this album.
I was like, excuse me? Like, Thinking About You is my shit, but Don't Talk Me Down, a beautiful fucking ballad. I said, I'm crying. Like,
that whole entire album was the shit.
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end. Gold, man.
Yo, Gold? Into Man? Like, when I first heard Man, I was just like, oh, okay, like, it's a cute song. It sounds like that other song. And I can't think of the name of it right now. But hearing it on the entire album, I said, JoJo.
I always said that every time. It's like, it's not my fault. It's these Slack meetings.
Don't blame that. She.
That's on you.
No.
That's a you thing. But yeah, so JoJo's album has definitely been on like super repeat for me. Like I said, wow, a white fave. I have to stand.
Bruh, she did that. She truly did.
What's your album?
I just heard Deontay Hitchcock's album, and
that my God
was fucking fire. That like.
Remember we saw him open for Black?
Yes, I knew about his songs like a month before because I used to play it, and when we were driving to like go out or something. But then like seeing him like perform with him at Fillmore, and then him dropping this album was like, wow. Like he did this album, especially the song with Jid. Yeah.
So fucking good. So fucking good. Like, wow. So good. So Manny, welcome. Hello. How are you?
I'm well, guys. How about you guys?
Good. You sound clear as hell.
I know.
Oh, I'm cracking up. Oh, my bad. There's definitely two Mannys in this thing right now. So Manny Guzman, not Emmanuel. Okay, not only Das. Okay. So quick question before we hop into like this whole interview and everything with you. Marie's question for the Music Marie segment was, what is your favorite release so far from 2020?
My favorite release from 2020, man. That's such a tough question because I'm an old school rap listener, man. I listen to old school rap, hip hop, so I can't really say I listen to a lot of this new age stuff. Like I don't even know what Goomba is. Like what is that? What is he even saying?
Who?
Goomba 6ix9ine. That track.
Oh, sorry, we rebuked.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
But the one thing I can say is that I've been listening to a lot of Jeezy lately. I've been bumping a lot of Jeezy in my car, and
I'm not mad at that.
That's always some real good music when you need some motivation.
I bangs with that. You win this one. All right, I'll give you that. But yeah, no, really, really, I appreciate all.
I say that Jeezy is like the original trap rapper.
You say Jeezy?
Jeezy, man. Jeezy has a bunch of bangers, man. I would encourage you to check out his catalog for sure. I'm
cracking up. Not the original. See, and I usually just I put a trap to Gucci and T.I. Like those are the forefathers of trap, in my opinion.
That's true. Yeah, same.
I mean, I remember when Jeezy had the snowman, right? And so I remember Dr. Norman in Reading High actually made it illegal for us to wear snowmen on our T-shirts back in the day. And this was in 2005, 2004. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Nah, that's wild.
You're old, Manny, because we were like in middle school. I think.
You said 2004.
33, but yeah.
I wasn't in middle.
I was in third grade in 2004.
I was gonna say I was in elementary.
Yeah.
I was like in 7th grade, 6th or 7th grade. But I remember they made a big thing about it, like nation, like across the nation, and people didn't even understand. Wow. Okay, but I side with you. Jeezy definitely like made that genre. Well, he was the first to, let's say, coin the genre. He was the first that actually was like, this is what mine is called. But actually, no, I think I'm a liar. I think T.I. says that he was the one that coined it. But in fact, it was indeed Jeezy the Snowman. So, yeah, that's my adding to it.
So that's my contribution to the newest track, I guess. I've been listening to the old tracks.
I ain't mad at that. All right, Bree, you hopping in and out, sis. So now we can actually get into this interview. So most of this episode, we definitely had like news lined up, but we just started like catching up with each other, and one thing led to another. First, it was 6:30. Next thing we knew, it was like 6:57, and was like, "Ooh, we have a guest." Like, hey, let's get this on. Bree.
What?
I don't know. She's struggling over there. You'll see it on video.
It's a daily struggle with me.
Yeah, totally. So, Reading's Finest. So, Reading's Finest is the section where we interview somebody from our hometown or just in general who's doing something super positive, and we believe the city of Reading needs to know a bit more about it. So, last week we had on, excuse me, what was last week?
Crystal Gilmore?
Crystal Gilmore was last week? Yeah. No, Alternative Blacks were last week.
Oh.
Yes. So
Sorry.
Alternative Blacks were last week.
I barely, when it's like.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, So that was a really good conversation. So we had a lot of really cool opportunity to just discuss like the state of Black America and where we've been at in terms of the violence that's been going on in our communities, especially police violence in particular. The previous week we had Crystal Gilmore Harris on, so that was dope to hear about her legacy and a local hero in our hometown. And then we also had Maxime on to talk about, his newest project and shit. So it's cool that we like get to like tackle so many different facets. So it's really dope because Manny, I've been wanting you on the podcast for a while, and you've been like, "Yo, Keys, when I'm getting on the show, what's this looking like?"
I did press you on that. I was like, "When I'm gonna get on the show, man?"
Multiple times.
I'm honored. Thank you, Bree, for reaching out.
That's a fact.
Sure, it was Marquise's blessing, so I can't move until he does.
I didn't say all that, but I appreciate the help either way because I think it is very timely to have you on the show as well. So what better time than now, where you just came off of a huge endorsement. So we'll get into that a little bit later in this conversation. But let's take it back a little bit. First things first, who is Manny Guzman? Wow. And you got to give us 3 fun facts about yourself.
Okay. I'll give you 3 fun facts about myself. Sure. But who is Manny Guzman? I'm somebody who cares deeply about the community. Somebody who was raised here. I came to Reading when I was like 10, 11 years old, really because my father bought his first house here, and it was just our way of earning a piece of the American dream, right? Everybody wants that white picket fence. My family lived in the projects in New York. So, I remember living on the Sheffield projects and Sheffield Ave and in East New York and Brooklyn. And, coming to Reading was our way of escaping that, our way of, getting a piece of that American dream. And so Manny is someone who has always been a fighter. I've always been someone who has the mentality that if not me, then who? And so, I've never been someone who has wanted to wait for somebody to come save our community. Like I saw myself at a young age wanting to be somebody who was actively involved in the change from my community. I didn't want to stand on the sideline. I'm somebody who, at the end of the day, I love just Reading. I love the potential that we have as a city. And I think that we are a diamond in the rough, and we need people in all levels of our government to be the voice that our citizens really desperately need.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I'm the candidate to do that.
Hey. Now that you gave us a sense of who you are, outside of that, what are 3 fun facts about yourself?
Yeah. Well, 3 fun facts about myself. Well, I went to college. I went to college at Kutztown, and I studied professional writing. So a lot of people don't know that.
Oh.
But I'm a writer, and I write poetry and short fiction. Everybody thinks, oh, man, he's political science. Nah, man, I was really, at first, I just wanted to get something that was going to be easy, right?
Right.
But then I fell in love with the process of just losing myself into a page and building characters and creating environments. So that's one. Second fact about me is that I thought I was going to be the Latino usher of Reading back in the day. So I've applied for, I went to American Idol a few times back in the days.
So you can sing?
Some people say I can sing, sure.
Oh, wow. We're going to have to get an extra snippet or something.
Now I don't sing no more. Now I do politics, but yeah, so that's a second fact about me, is that I was bold enough to go to American Idol and audition back in the day. And then I guess the third fact about me is that I guess you could say I'm a nerd. If that's not evident so far, I guess.
Not evident?
If that's not evident, I'm like so I really just love to read, and I love to just horizons. And so a recent milestone that I'm really happy for was the fact that I just hit 500 hours in Audible. So that's over like 30,000 minutes of listening. So I just hit that master level. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Master level on Audible.
I'm pretty proud of that.
I'm cracking up. So look, I wanted to make sure this was curated a little bit, so this way we get to kind of see you in chronological order and how you got to Reading. So thank you for sharing that story. That's the wonderful ambiance of Philadelphia. If you didn't hear the car going right by, there's a dirt bike. There's bike. Beautiful ambiance. But also just getting to that journey of into politics. So what shifted from your professional writing into politics? Were you always this person that believed in politics? Were you always this person that was as radical and leftist as you are? Or you, more progressive, I'll say? Was that always a spirit within you, or did that take a little bit of time to come about, that you really became a lot more politically active?
That's a great question. It happened in 2008, man. I was at Kutztown, and I was crushing on this girl, and she so happens to have invited me to a meeting. I had no clue what the meeting was about, but because I wanted to spend some time with her, I'm like, all right, let's go to the meeting. And it turns out that meeting was a Barack Obama meeting at Kutztown University. And that's really kind of where I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this guy who looks like me, who talks like me, who comes from a similar background that I come from, is he's talking, and he's talking about the stuff that I care about. He's talking about making change in my community, being that change and wanting to organize. And that's really why I fell in love with it. Quite frankly, in 2008, we registered over 3,000 new college kids to vote during that time in 2008. And that was something that I was really proud of. And so from there, I was like, okay, what can I do now in the campus community? I don't know if you guys know much about Kutztown, but it's still pretty, it doesn't have too many brothers and sisters on the campus. Let's put it that way, if we could be politically correct. And so, you know, I felt as though, all right, you know, I want to be the change on my campus, right? So I ran for student government. I became a student government member, university senate. I was involved with the president's roundtable at Kutztown University. So like, I like immersed myself in it. I'm like, listen, if I want to do this, then I want to make sure that I build the repertoire of skills now. So that way, when I get out, people are not looking at me like this funny kid who doesn't know what he's talking about. Which I probably didn't know what I was talking about too much back in those days, but you know, fake it till you make it, right? Right. But you know, so after I left Kutztown, I come back to Reading. It's 2011 when I left Kutztown. That's the height of that's the height of the recession, right? Here I am wanting to be a writer. There's no jobs in writing. There's no you can't get a job at the newspaper. I wanted to be an investigative journalist. Well, the Reading Eagle wasn't hiring. There was no newspaper jobs in 2011 when the economy crashed. So here I was back in Reading. I'm like, okay, Manny, what can we do now to make some change in the community? And at that point, that's when I saw the opportunity to run to be a Reading school board member in 2013, and haven't looked back ever since then. Been running for office, been advocating for working class people since then, and will continue to do it until I have my last breath in these lungs.
I really bangs with that a lot. So thank you for sharing that story first and foremost. But even then, like throughout that time of getting into the space a lot more, you also worked for the PA Democrats or Berks Democrats? Am I bugging?
Well, yeah, the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be one of the few people of color who actually worked for the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. And my job, I was the coalition's director. My job was just to go to communities like Reading, Allentown, Lancaster, Bethlehem, Philly, Erie in some cases. Guys, you don't want to drop the Erie. I mean, shout out to Erie, but that drive,
I went there.
I'm sorry.
Shout out to Erie.
I'm there.
But that's a long drive away. And I actually remember, if I can digress real quick, that picture you see me with here with Obama. Obama was in Philly 2 years ago, and I was a part of the group who helped organize it. And I was fortunate enough to get a picture with him. But anyway, I had an event the next day in Erie, Pennsylvania. So right after this Obama event in Philly, I had to hop on the turnpike, me and my homegirl, Shavanya Corbett Johnson, who's now the chief of staff for Senator Katie Moof. We hopped in my car and we drove the 6 hours from Philly to Erie straight, and then ended up having to do an event the next morning at 8 o'clock. So shout out to Erie though.
Wow.
I'm just like, oh no. I went up to Erie from Susquehanna, and that drive was 4 hours, and I was just like, this is too much. I went up and I just met the Cheetah Rivera, so that was lit. I met a Broadway legend, but like I was going up there for no.
We were doing a Black Caucus town hall, so that was part of my job responsibility. Was like, okay, how do we start engaging with these communities in a non-traditional way? Because in a lot of ways, what people were telling us, and I can't really mistake them for saying it, but like they were like, oh, well, you politicians, y'all just come around when you need to get elected every 2 years, every 4 years, every 6 years, and then you leave and we never see you again. And so in a lot of ways, there's some truth in that. So like my mission with the party was, how do we start breaking down those barriers? How do we start getting people to take ownership within their own respective communities, and then start being the change agents that they need to start running for office and winning? So, I mean, based off the people that I helped bring in, I mean, I had people run for office in Hazleton, in Allentown, in Reading, I mean, in Bethlehem. I mean, we were able to recruit and encourage candidates of color to run for office in a lot of places where there's never been a minority candidate ever. So I'm really proud of that work that we were able to do with the party.
Can you, well, sounds like you have a lot of experience. I don't even know where to start. I think I want to ask you, like, why? Like, I want to really get to, like, the meat of, like, why you're running.
That's such a great question. And the why is really simple. The why is my personal experience. The why is seeing my mother, a single mom of 5 of us, before we reunited with my pop later. But when I was living in the projects, I was there with my mom, and it was us in a 3-bedroom apartment in the projects. And my mom struggled, man. She struggled to pay the rent. She struggled to pay the bills. I had my abuela living with us too. So there was like 6 people in this house. And I remember seeing times where my own grandma had to pull out money from her own pocket, money that she could have spent on her medicine to help us pay rent. And so those experiences, you know, is what fuels me. My father, even though we reconnected at a later time, my father's story is also important. My father came to this country at the age of 19 from the Dominican Republic, not knowing a lick of English. He actually became a citizen because of Republican Ronald Reagan made it easier for immigrants during those times to get their citizenship. And my father is a product of that. And so for a long time, my father was a Republican. He was a hardcore Republican. I love George Bush. I love Ronald Reagan. And then this clown Donald Trump came around, and you know, I got him to the light side now. But his story is important. You know, his story is a story of perseverance, of a story of a man who came to this country and made something of himself, got a piece of his own little piece of American dream where he was able to purchase his own house. He's been a tax-paying citizen for 50 plus years, been at the same job for 25 years. So like my mother, like my father, there are thousands of people in this district, millions more across the country, across the Commonwealth, and even millions more on top of that across our country that are suffering every day, and they need somebody who understands what it's like to be in their shoes. That's where it comes from for me, because I know what it's like to walk a mile in some of our people's shoes. And that's something that I'll always carry with me when I get to Harrisburg as the next state legislature.
Come on, you better speak that into existence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good one. I was just about to ask, speaking on immigrants, because they're being left out of a lot of bills that are being passed, like when it comes to like regarding money, like the stimulus checks and stuff like that. But they're like they really are the backbones of our country. Like they do all the work that Americans don't want to do, whether they want to admit it or not. But they're being left out and being ignored and unnoticed when it comes to getting help right now. So I wanted, your opinion on things like that.
It's real. Like, let me tell you, I have my own cousin, and shout out Isaac. I'm sorry if I'm putting your name out there, Isaac, but me and my cousin Isaac, we grew up together. The only difference between me and Isaac is that Isaac was born in the Dominican Republic and I was born in Brooklyn, New York. But that's really where our differences lie. So, I mean, we pledge to the same flag. We honor the American flag and the American traditions. But my cousin, who lives in Reading, is also one of those people who are not eligible for this new COVID economic stimulus. He's also, excuse my friends, but he's also scared shitless that ICE and the immigration services are going to come and send him back to a country that he really knows nothing about. And so for me, it's visceral. Like this is happening right now within my own family. And so that's why I believe it's important to have people in office who understand these issues, and not only just understand them, but have lived the issues that could be able to advocate to pass legislation to start changing some of the stuff. The reality is, though, Marie, is that unfortunately in Harrisburg, we have a lot of mini Trumps. Everybody want to focus on President Trump, right? Yeah, because he's the top dog, but there's a lot of Trumps in all levels of our government. And our job as citizens is something that we haven't really done a really good job of, is to participate in democracy. And that's the reason why we have so many of these people in office who expound so much demagoguery, so much xenophobia, so much racism so openly, because they know that our generation, the ages from 18 to 35, I'm 33, in the 2016 election, 53% of our age bracket stayed at home and didn't vote. And then this is the consequence of our age bracket not going out and vote. We have an orange guy in the White House who doesn't really know what the hell he's doing.
An orange guy in the White House. I am done.
The
I'm sorry, because that's like, it's rare that you get politicians who are so frank. And I think that's one of the things that Trump is kind of able to hold on to. It's like, you know, he's clearing the swamp. But if you follow him, you see that in actuality, he's doing the exact opposite. And I think that we need leaders like Manny in charge and, you know, looking out for everyone's best interest. I mean, across the spectrum, regardless of race, gender, you know, wages. So I wanted to ask you about your policies and what other type of policies do you, in fact, stand on?
And do you mind if I jump in just before you answer that particular question, because I think it's a segue, but I wanted to lean in real quick to a comment you made in terms of like voting and us showing out a little bit more. Because I know for me personally, there are times when we talk about voting and like millennials voting and like the ability to vote, like sometimes I feel like there's always like a finger wagging that happens, but we're also not acknowledging like voter suppression is a real thing. Lack of education and civic engagement is a real thing, and like how to actually participate in government. I was just on a panel this last Friday and like we got into that conversation a little bit, and I was just like, we also don't make voting sexy. I know, and that sounds weird, but it's just like for us, there has to always be a why. So oftentimes people are just like, hey, civil rights leaders voted for, like, they fought for this in order for us to have this freedom right now. But sometimes I think like there's still like a distancing that happens when we use that language, and you're supposed to do it just because you're supposed to do it, as opposed to like saying, no, here is why, like this is what local elections look like, this is what state elections look like, this is why we should be focused on like a lot of this stuff even outside of the presidential election, because that's another beast in itself. So I did want to like even see like your thoughts on what are your ways to engage our demographic in terms of voting that doesn't necessarily include like, oh, well, if only 53% like really didn't vote or came out to vote, like what are some ways to potentially like mitigate that or inspire?
Yeah, there's no silver bullet. I mean, I think we always have to be careful of anybody who says it has to be this certain way, right? And it's going to solve this particular problem. It has to be a holistic approach. There's no doubt about it. But one of the things I would say is that something that has always dawned upon me as a person of color is, quite frankly, seeing people who look like me and talk like me, who come from the same environment that I come from, in positions of power and authority. Like, that has always motivated me. It's like, man, like, why is it that, in a school district like Reading, where 73% of the population, 90% of the population is people of color, and yet we have such a disproportionate amount of teachers of color within our school districts, right? Mm-hmm. The same thing with the cops, the same thing with the district attorneys, right? So I think one of the ways we can help increase turnout is by having a Manny Guzman on the ballot, by having somebody like an Eddie Moran on the ballot, by having maybe somebody, one of you on the panel, even maybe wanting to run for office eventually in the future, right? So we have to give our people a reason to vote, a reason to want to come out and push that button. But that's just one facet. There's so many, you're right, there's so many barriers to vote. I mean, look at the vote by mail process, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they're pushing that, right? But the application itself, the online application to apply for a mail-in ballot, is not even in Spanish. So you talk about a district like Reading, right, where the majority of our residents are Latino. They're asking me, hey, Manny, can I apply for an online ballot? And they can't even fill out the form because they don't understand.
That's wild.
On the form. So it's just little things like that that add up and make it extraordinarily difficult. So let's say then, okay, Marquise, you request the mail-in ballot and you were successful. Okay, you get 1 cent. Well, did you also know that they don't include a postage on that on the return envelope? So you actually would have to go out and buy a stamp and mail it yourself for your vote to count. So in a sense, that's almost like a poll tax, right? So if you're poor, you're counting your pennies and you're counting your dollars and cents to have to go out of your way to actually purchase a stamp, to actually mail in a ballot, is just another barrier that presents itself and makes it more difficult for people of color to vote here and across the country.
Right. Now, thank you for answering that, because I just thought it was like a pointed part of the conversation, because it always comes up around these times in terms of like, make sure y'all can get in line for a Popeye's chicken, but y'all can't get in line to vote. But then also, like, there are very real barriers to voting and voting systems, and they just updated a new system, so now you got to relearn something else. Like, there's a lot that be going into it.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a big, and Bree, I promise I'm going to get to your question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bree.
And I'm big on localizing politics. Like, listen, if you care about your school board not being reflective of the community, or your curriculum not being as well-rounded as you want it to be, then you need to run for office. If you care about the potholes that are on our streets, if you care about whether or not we're including minority businesses in our city contracts, you need to run for city council. If you care about the county and you care about closing down the Berks Detention Center, or you care about not privatizing Berks County Prison, or you care about the Berks County having a health department, then we need to support candidates who run for county commissioner. So I'm really big on that, man. Like, people, once you start talking about presidents and all that, people start losing it. If we want to be successful in turning people out, we got to start localizing the politics in our area and bringing it down to the really granular level, so that people can understand why local politics are often more important than what's happening at the White House.
I think that, like, going back to like what you were talking about, the barriers and whatnot, when it comes to like the mail-in ballot, I think that's extremely important, because honestly, I didn't even know all these barriers. And like, coming from like small towns like Reading, where there's majority of the population is Spanish or Hispanic, that's extremely helpful. Like, maybe especially during these times, it makes it a lot harder for people to either go out and get a stamp, because they either there's no means of transportation or stuff like that, just with everything going on. I think that maybe something probably small and localized can like help with like Spanish people doing their like online ballot or whatever, just like translating and stuff like that. But knowing that can, I guess, help other people in assisting with stuff like that, because I think that's extremely important.
Oh, it sure is. It definitely is.
No, that's a fact. Bree, sorry. I just want to make sure like that train of thought kept going.
It's okay. It's okay.
I definitely want to answer this question, because I think it's really important, right? Like what do I believe in? Like what are the policies that Manny Guzman is going to fight for? And I think that's important, not only for you guys to know, but for your listeners as well. Number one, right, is increasing the minimum wage, man. We have too many people in our community who are working for starvation wages, and COVID-19 is just showing a huge spotlight on that. 33 million people across the country have applied for unemployment. What's going to happen to all these people once the governor lifts the order to stop evictions, right? Think about the thousands of people, millions of people potentially in neighborhoods like Reading who are going to be faced with the threat of eviction, given that a lot of them don't even have full-time work now. And if they are working, they're getting $7.25 an hour. So, I mean, that's number one, right? People can debate, you guys can debate whether or not that should be 15. I know the legislature right now is talking about, let's put it at 12. The reality is that even if the minimum wage is $12 or $15, for the vast majority of our people, they're going to see a huge amount of economic stimulus from $7.25 an hour. So if it's $7.25 to $12 an hour, that's a huge increase in and of itself. So that's number one. I think you always have to be wary of anybody, guys, whether you're running for this seat or not. who says that it has to be this number or not. Reality is that in Harrisburg right now, the Republicans control both the House and the Senate. And so that limits our ability to pass legislation. So, you know, another things that I'm going to fight for, Bree, quite frankly, is to try to find moderate members of the Republican Party who can help me pass some meaningful legislation, like the minimum wage, like increasing our school funding to make sure that no kid is falling through the crack, like making sure that we protect LGBTQ rights and make sure that no landlord could kick somebody out of their apartment or you get fired for your job just because of the person that you love or you're in a relationship with. We need to build coalitions to start addressing the climate issues that we're facing. That it may not be a big deal here in Reading, right? But Reading would be beneficial if we would have access to clean, renewable energy. And so we also have a role to play in that. So for me, I'll end with this. You'll always have a yes with me on any of the issues that impact working class families and working class people that I know that are directly impacted. So whether that be the minimum wage, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, workers' rights, immigrants' rights, you're always going to have a yes in me. But then on top of that, my further commitment is to go out to places like Lancaster, Allentown, Lebanon, and help us build a majority in Harrisburg where we can finally start making some meaningful legislation happen once we get the majority in the House and in the Senate.
Okay. No, and thank you for expanding upon that a little bit more, because I think like it was interesting seeing you like even working with Eddie's campaign and stuff like that. I thought it was like
you wasn't supposed to know that.
Oh,
no, that's okay.
I'm cracking up. Was that like not a secret?
No, well, let me put it this way. It wasn't. So listen, it wasn't illegal. Eddie, as you all know, is not only is Eddie somebody that I served with on the school board from 2013. He's also somebody I consider a brother. But at the time, I was working for the Democratic Party, and so that was a contested primary.
Oh, true.
So technically, I wasn't involved, but I wasn't gonna let my brother go out without me being some type of way involved in that.
Right. And no, I thought it was interesting because it was even like I know a lot of my pushback when it came to Eddie was just like, all right, so what are you doing with like Black people in particular, like in the city of Reading, and like does his views actually align with things that are good for us? And that's always something I challenge anybody who was going up was just like, all right, so is your shit really like meant for, like, is this like a very Black specific thing? Or are you at least understanding like, here's how some of this can come up as anti-Black in terms of potential policy? Like if you wanted to say safer streets, but you're saying safer streets equates to increased policing, we see statistics like increased policing actually doesn't do anything for our community, actually does more harm. So for you in particular, like, where is some of your philosophy? Because I know like you're somebody I really respect in terms of just like being able to chat about this stuff because it could go back and forth. But you also have the range in terms of like actual like liberation and your ideas on it. So can you kind of expand upon like how that kind of ideology aligns with like your progressive policies that you potentially want to pass? Or do you have more of a strategy to like be like, here's how we're actually going to be helping Black people, like something that's explicitly Black, or here's something that we have to help specifically, like here's very much so like a Latino issue type thing like that. Like those are things where I'm much more curious about in terms of like a policy that's very reflective of race and actual intersectionalities, where you're forced to acknowledge the differences between the various communities that make up the city of Reading.
What it is. Yeah, I mean, thank you for that question. And I think we have to be wary of any candidate or any person who says that they don't see color, or that they try to equate what I call the poverty Olympics, right? Is that nobody wins the poverty Olympics, and I tend not to really like to get into that conversation, because at the end of the day, it is the truth. Unfortunately, no one wins in the poverty Olympics, but at the same time, you also want to have candidates and people in office who understand the role that race plays in all aspects of our society. not only just in politics, but in the criminal justice system, in the educational system, in the social justice system, and the mental health system. So race plays a huge role. And it just so happens that in a lot of these institutions, it just so happens that people of color are always on the short end of that damn stick. And so we need people in office who understand that reality, but also are trying to push the needle in terms of legislation. That's why it's so important. I mean, I said it earlier, you know, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And in a lot of ways, if we're not there advocating for these issues, they're unheard and unspoken of. So, you know, my commitment to you is to find people of color who understand these issues, like we understand these issues, and who can help advocate to help all of our communities, whether it be the Black community, Latino community, the poor white community, if we got any rural folks here, the rural community. But color and race in itself plays a huge role in a lot of ways. And we need people that are cognizant of that, cognizant of all the biases that surround all of our institutions. And race definitely plays a big role in that.
No, and I agree. I just wanted to like see what that pushback looked like, because that was something I'm always just like making sure, because our listeners are,
you know, it's there, especially with Eddie's campaign. You know, Eddie being now the first Latino the first Latino mayor of any major city in Pennsylvania. That was a real issue, and I'll be honest with you, you know, issues that we talked about just amongst ourselves in that kitchen cabinet. Like Eddie, like we're getting questions from the DearRDG group. Like they want to hear your ideas on these issues. How are you going to be able to express them in a way that makes sense? And that was nerve-wracking. We had to go through that because Eddie he's a very smart man, absolutely, but his best strength is in bringing people together,
right.
and bringing the best minds together. And so he may not have always the best answer for you, but his commitment and my commitment is always just to surround ourselves with the best minds that we can to keep us in check and also keep us informed of what's going on the ground.
No, that's a fact. And I just respect that answer, because it's like, we don't need anybody who's just like, oh, I know everything about like what's going on in Black issues. Like,
you gotta be wary of that. You gotta be wary of it. And
right.
I know that candidates in this race who, you know, try to make it seem as though, you know, they understand. I mean, I saw a candidate the other day who I won't name. He's on the other side of the aisle, but, you know, he made a post saying on one of the Facebook, "Hey, Redding, where can I find trash?" And then ended up making a campaign video of himself going around picking up trash. And it's like, bruh, don't nobody ever has seen you in that side of Redding before.
Ever.
Like why are you using the poverty of our neighborhoods to make a cheap political statement?
Because it's an easy savior complex that people like to eat the fuck up.
Ding, ding, ding.
Like, I'm tired.
So that's happening even in this race right now. You know, so people are trying to equate and use the struggle of people of color to push their own political agenda. And I don't think that's right, or the right way to get people to inspire you to vote for them.
Nah, I agree. And that was most of my questions. That's like really for you for this portion of it. Marie or Bree, did you want to ask Manny anything else?
Not really. He kind of summed up everything.
Yeah. Bree, are you good on your side?
I am satisfied.
No, and I think I do appreciate like the conversation that was had here, because I think sometimes like trying to make sure like this is still accessible for everybody, right? Because you are somebody who's of the community. You're somebody who you see what's best for us. You're wild smart. Like that ain't no taking that away from you. So it's like, you know, he's like, I don't want to be.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, you know, it happens. But in all real,
if there's one last thing I could say, you know, thank you. I appreciate you all for the opportunity to talk with you. Hopefully, I can come back when I win this election.
Oh, that's a fact. Part 2 got to happen.
again, I just ended with this and say, that I'm somebody who always believes in leading with his values. I'm somebody who, as I said earlier, those images, those experiences of my family struggling is what propels me to want to serve my community. And I want to be a champion for those working class people like my family who chose Reading to be their home. And so I want to be a part of that change that we wish to see. And hopefully on June 2nd, I'll be honored and humbled to have your vote to make that a reality.
No, that's a fact. Also, speaking of voting anyways, are there any important dates that we should be looking out to be doing all of that?
Yes. So tomorrow is actually the last day to register people to vote. So if you know anybody, whether in your own social networks, tomorrow is the last day to register to vote. So please, it's really easy to do. The 26th, and if I can, I'm going to show my screen just so that you guys can see what I'm looking at, because I was actually just doing some research on this. So you can actually, if you apply for a mail-in ballot, you can go on this PA Voter Services website here, and you can actually track your ballot. So I would encourage anybody who has submitted a ballot for a mail-in ballot to go on this website and check it out. And if I can, I don't want to take up too much time, but there's also going to be some big polling site changes that a lot of people are not even aware of. So if you want to know what those polling site changes are, you want to go to the Berks County Election Services website to find out where your new polls are going to be. They're moving a lot of new polls to the Santander Arena. So you definitely want to make sure to find out where you go to vote on June 2nd. And if you don't want to vote in person, you can vote by requesting your online ballot at votespa.com, and it'll come to this screen right here, ballot request application, where you can actually apply for your mail-in ballot by the 26th.
Dope. Feel free to send us all of those links, to be completely honest, so that way we can just put them straight across all of our social media.
We'll do.
Yeah, because I think that's just it's going to be a necessary component for us to make sure we're getting everything that you've been talking about through this episode, make sure that all gets out there, but also let them know where they're able to find you and stuff like that too. So thank you for sharing those.
One last thing, guys, if I can.
You got
I know I just got a big endorsement the other day. I'm telling you, there's going to be an even bigger one that comes here in the next couple of days.
Oh, word?
That's going to be the little cliffhanger that I'm going to leave you with.
We got to be on the lookout.
Definitely be on the lookout.
We can't get no DearRDG exclusive?
Sure. It's going to be a big one. Not that the governor isn't big, but this is going to be equally, if not bigger, than that.
Oh, I'm excited. Definitely let us know. I'm excited to see the announcement and stuff. Out here leaving us with cliffhangers.
Sir.
You can tell us, it's fine. We won't tell anybody.
No. We want to make sure the whole world knows about it on Wednesday. I'll give you guys the first dibs though on it.
All right, good. All right, we'll be there to break it with you. Now, but thank you so much for joining us on this. We're gonna have some hot takes on some of the shit that we've been seeing in the news right after this. So would you like to do your DearRDG segment before we have you go out?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So the DearRDG segment, Manny, we're gonna let you do this a little early. But this is essentially our open love letter to the city of Reading. So you get anything we talked about throughout this episode or a piece of advice you want to leave to the city. This is your time to do so.
Dear Reading, I know that we're all going through some really tough times right now. COVID-19 has really threw us a huge curveball. The one thing I can tell you is that I firmly believe in my heart that not only are we going to get out of this more united and stronger than ever before, but that we're going to start tackling a lot of the concretes and the cracks that we're seeing because of COVID-19. So the one thing I would say to all my people, it's tough times, but if you're going to fail, remember to fail on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
I like that.
I never heard of that one, but I like it a lot.
I see you. Manny out here with the gems. Manny Guzman. Cool. Oni Dash, you got the gems too, but right now we talk about the other Manny.
Oh my gosh, I love you so much.
But once
Man,
again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you. I love seeing the journey that you're on right now, and I hope for nothing but the best. We'll make sure to get all the links from you, so that way we can just share them across and then go from there, all right?
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
Appreciate it.
oh my God. That was a good
cool
interview.
Let's get to the real ratchetness. I'm kidding.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the
You ready to
bullshit.
bring the wine out.
Look, because that's where we at right now. So now there's some fuck shit of the week, like we need to definitely be talking about. So once again, thank you, and I hope you all enjoyed that interview the way that we did. We'll definitely have more questions for him, especially in terms of like holding him accountable too. Like, what are you going to be actually doing for the Black community once in office, and once that election actually happens? How do we get other people inspired to vote and all that fun stuff? So, that keeps shit out of the way. So, on to some trash from this week. Some shit that we've been seeing on the timeline and some shit in the news, because, y'all know, I try to avoid at Born Poor on Twitter, but my setup
What he do now?
engaged in conversation, because,
I hated him.
I know, but somehow he keeps ending up on my stuff. But I think, because Donald Trump is also muted on my shit, like blocked. And somehow he keeps ending up, but I think it's also like screenshots that keep ending up, because I swear they be unblocking and muting people on my list. Like, I'm now officially convinced. So I'd be mad annoyed. But
you know that random like that pops up? I'm like, who liked my ish?
I know. I just want to say shout out to Mark for trying to engage in that conversation on capitalism and stuff, because I was getting dead annoyed and was just like, I feel the need to respond, because you just can't be saying some shit sometimes. Like, capitalism is like a real thing that you can't like go up for if you're about the community. So it kind of kills me, and not slowly. And then I'm not going to name any names, but another podcast may or may not have mentioned Michelle Obama and called her ugly, and I was ready to fight.
I want to know who. We gotta have people take their accountability. Because the podcast, they're always problematic.
And it was a very trash transition into whatever they were talking about, but I immediately, and normally I try not to listen too much because I'm just like triggered. But that one in particular, I was ready to like throw hands. And I was like, you know what? Let me not be messy. But fuck it. I was not with the shits, and I was.
Oh my God! I'm so glad you said that, because to be frank, what is something that has been like on my mind is just what I'm consuming on social media. But then also, you have to, like what Marie says, like you gotta like stop certain things while they're in their tracks. So like I've seen a couple, like there's LLC Twitter. And LLC Twitter will go on and on about how everybody needs to, like, everyone needs to quit their 9-to-5 job, and you just need to, why aren't you making money? Like, invest in stocks and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I stopped engaging with them a long time ago, because a lot of what they say is a lot of phobic ish that they have. It's like, Marquise, when you had told me not too long ago, and it's something that resonated with me, how the Black man doesn't necessarily want equality for all. They just want to be closer to having the same power that
I was about to say, the people I'm talking about are not Black.
I think I know who you're talking about, Marquise.
Not Black.
Because they're always saying something problematic, and that's why I don't listen to the podcast.
Oh my gosh. So
sorry, I'm not supporting every creative who's anti-Black. Fuck out of here.
But that's the thing. It's just like so many people, like, they don't even realize that the rhetoric that they use or say is so I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it sucks, because it's like part of me doesn't want to be at that table, because I know that table at the end of the day is not going to serve me. As a Black woman, that table is not serving me. But it's like, as a Black woman, I struggle with knowing that if I don't use my voice, there's no one that's gonna go up for me at the end of the day. It's just me. And that's the thing, is like on social media, people's favorite topic is something that involves Black women, whether it's politics, beauty. It's always at the cost of a Black woman, and I don't even think that people realize that.
No,
So
they
that's
do.
why
I'm not even giving them that benefit of the doubt. Sorry.
and
Niggas
so
are trash sometimes.
and this is why I try to disengage, but there's certain topics on the timeline that involves me, whether I wanted to or not. So it's frustrating. It's like with the whole Michelle Obama and people calling her ugly, and I'm like, how, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, what? And people don't even realize that they internalize her dark skin and her Black features as ugly, and it's not nowhere near a preference. It's the simple fact that you were taught from
Which is
very
why I don't bangs with POC Twitter at all. Like,
Me
it
either.
annoys the fuck out of me, and I've been like having this internal like battle with myself of just like,
Who you kidding?
when there are creatives in here, there are creatives out here, but one, I don't need to support every creative, right? We can have solidarity, but if I don't digest your work, or if I think your work is harmful, then I'm not gonna bangs with it. I'm not an upstanding citizen. Like, I got my own shit, whatever. But there is a little bit where I'm just like,
The prejudice. It's like, why is it that people aren't, like, again, it goes back to prejudice. People don't even realize their own prejudice, like, against people, and they be like, oh, but I'm cool with you, but I have a Black friend.
no,
And
it's
I'm
also like I grew up in the city of Reading, so I understand exactly what the fuck you go through. And I'm just like, you don't know what it's like to be a Black person. You don't know what it's like to be a Black woman and deal with the anti-Blackness that y'all dealt with. Like, Amanda and I talk about this a lot. Of just like, when we really go back and really think about it, we're just like, Reading
is trash, and I will tell you that. Reading, when it comes to treating like Black people, but Black women,
in
like, I
particular.
got bullied in high school just because my lips were too big, my nose is too big. I always got told that, like, I was beautiful for a Black girl. If you're the only Black girl I would date, that's not a compliment. It's more offensive than it is anything. But like, piggyback of like what Bree was saying, like, I haven't been fucking with the, well, if you aren't saving, or if you don't have enough money in your account during these times, you're doing something wrong. Not everybody will have enough money in their account, especially at this time, because a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. Let's be honest. Like, nobody was set up to COVID taking over and keeping them in their houses. And like, so the people that, or mothers that work 3 different jobs, not to support their kids, but their whole intermediate family and stuff like that, like, that is real. Like, people, this whole like, oh, if scared money don't make no money, Twitter, it's honestly been annoying me, because there are people that are literally living in struggle and they live off paycheck to paycheck. And now that their job must be closed, they don't have a savings to fall back on, because they were just catching up on bills to regardless in their daily lives. So imagine what they're going through now. Like, guys, like, stuff like that, really, people do not understand, like, what the people that are less worthy that are going through. Like, I don't consider myself lower class, but there are people that are there. So like, immigrants are going unnoticed during this time. Homelessness is going unnoticed at this time.
People with disabilities are going unnoticed at this time.
Like, and it's extremely real. There are people that don't have the means to make it to month, and that might get, were threatened to get put out of their houses, that just because they're waiting on their unemployment check, because there's 33 million people that applied for unemployment, and half of them still aren't seeing their money, and it's been a month or been 2 months and they're waiting for it. So you can't really be like, how don't you have this amount of money in your, why are you clocking other people's bank accounts? That has been, like, what is for you, but what is for you is not for everybody.
Right.
And comparison is the thief of joy. Stop comparing yourself to other people.
Don't you dare compare yourself to me. You will never be me. You will never be on my level.
Period.
Compare.
Look.
I don't compete, baby.
No.
And it's just like, and I was thinking, like, I really wanted to like do something for, like, at least try, because there's people that like what Mark was talking about last episode we did, or the episode before, like, they're feeding so many people because kids don't have a meal every day because they look forward to that in school. People need to think of those people during these times. They can't even see their kids because they're working 3 different jobs just to make ends meet. Like,
Right.
So people need to get it together because I've had it up to here. Like,
no, that's a fact.
And it's trash. Like, and that's the thing is just like going back to what Marie says. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't have their principles or values in order as they should at this time. Like, we're in a state of emergency. Everyone is hurting, regardless of your gender, race, nationality, like across the board. And it's like a lot of people, especially LLC Twitter, you know, like this is the time where you should be able to be like, hey, here is how you could do this. Here's how you could do, you know, that. And instead it's more like, oh, well, this is why you should have had this in place in the first place. You know what I mean? And it's like, now is not the time to be scolding,
condescending.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking down on anybody, it's just not the time for that. And especially like, I don't know, I feel like quarantine got everybody's head like messed up because every day there's something outlandish on Twitter. Like Boosie was talking about his son getting head. Like, and then jumped out.
And that's the when I tell you, like, the things, it's like being stuck in the house has made people stir
It's the Rona brain. It's the Rona brain.
It has to be, because what on God's green earth will make you agree that it's okay to have an adult grown woman perform oral sex on a 13-year-old? And it's like, this is why I don't want to have children. Like, this world scares me. Like, I like the how are you of age? You're a grown ass person saying this. And I feel like what this has, like, to me, it shows that we have not come as far as what we think. A lot of people who say, oh, you know, like, I'm so mature, I'm so grown, I'm and you know, like, I feel like Reddit has a hierarchy where, you know, people just think like, oh, you know, I'm the shit, da 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 da. But then you go on these social medias and these are people who have children saying that that's okay and that they can understand where people are coming from. And you wonder why it took so long for R. Kelly to get his just desserts.
I was going to say, like...
I'm sorry. In the meantime, what you're saying is that it's okay. Do you know how much damage this could impact on how many other people and how many other lives that you're impacting? But because you want to get on Twitter and want to be, you know, tweeting and want to be getting them likes and being viral, instead of doing what's right, you're doing what's popular. And I feel like this really goes to show you, I don't even have the phrase, maturity doesn't really sit well with me.
It's not maturity.
It's not about maturity. It's about right and wrong. Marquise,
yeah, because it's not even that. Like, I think it's interesting because Black girls will go ignore it, and that's how we get the R. Kelly situation. But we also look at Black boys' sexual experience, and we look at that as a rite of passage. So even growing up, it's always been like, oh, you got the older girl, you gonna get it. It's cool. Like, that's what that is. Like, that's what we're fed the entire time. Like, that's a pivotal point of manhood. But in reality, that manhood means molestation. That manhood means, like, that is a sexual experience that you don't want to experience yet. And you take away that side of innocence. But we celebrate that within the Black, for the Black boy. So when we look at Boosie, I think a lot of people are taking this as a normal thing because a lot of Black boys experience this in their time, but they don't have the space to actually talk about, like, I actually hated that moment that happened. I actually don't realize that this was as bad as it was. I didn't realize, like, this was traumatic. So it's not until years later where you're just like, oh, this is why I'm the way that I am during sex. Oh, this is why I'm socialized. This is my behavior. This is what this is. Because if you have to acknowledge, like, this bad thing happened to me and I was not ready for this older woman to perform this onto me, then that means I have to acknowledge that hurt and that pain that I went through. And not a lot of Black boys have the space to do so. And I think that's really what the crux is. So seeing a lot of Black men try to defend what Boosie was doing is the part where it's also the defense comes out of, I don't want to have to acknowledge this trauma that I also face. So my best way to do it is either tell a joke about it or say this is normal, because if I normalize it, then I can feel better about myself. And that's the Black ass bottom line about it. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't ready to have that conversation about. It's why people are nervous about, like, ooh, what kind of babysitter do I get? Do I get this? Who am I putting around my children? And so I know, like, a lot of times people, like, use this as an opportunity to, like, come for Dwayne Wade and his daughter. And I'm just like, this is not the time to do so. I think you're all real corny for that shit. Because
all up and down Twitter, like they were like, well, I wouldn't let my kid be gay or whatever. Like you don't really get a choice and stuff like that. And why are you
gonna be a fucking parent?
Exactly. Like if the day you cannot accept your kid being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, you should not be a parent. You at all. Period.
Like it's a strong possibility.
Like you obviously don't love your kid unconditionally enough to even. So why would you even go down that path? Mm-hmm. It's not your choice to sit there and be like, well, I'm not gonna, like, you can't be gay. Like, that's not how this works. Like, if your kid is noticing something, discovering parts of themselves, that is actually great, because especially in the Black community, we don't talk about, noticing and discovering how we are actually bisexual or lesbian or gay or whatever the term may be. We don't allow to be like, you know what, we don't come out that like openly, and we should. It should be embraced. It shouldn't be looked down upon. Like, that's something that should not be looked upon. And that's why a lot of people are the way they are. They're conditioned this way, and we, as a Black community, we have so much work to do.
So much.
Nah,
that's a fact. And real quick, speaking on some homophobic shit, whoever the Burke's Republican women page is, start blasting the fuck out of their Facebook page, because they think it was cute. It was brought to my attention that these trash-ass individuals decided to put onto their Facebook with their fuck-ass caucasity, if our Pennsylvania health secretary can identify as a woman, can your small business identify as a Walmart and stay open? Or maybe identify as Planned Parenthood and be deemed essential? Try it. So I just want to give a hearty fuck you to the Burke's Republican women. And let's also make sure those assholes in the comment section, those who are sharing, these people who are in power, a big fuck you to y'all too, because you're all homophobic and y'all are all engaging in this tweet or in this, on this Facebook page that's actually doing extreme harm to people. And we see y'all. And I will be making sure to blast every single one of y'all motherfuckers, because at the end of the day, y'all are real wild corny for that. And y'all are real trash. But then this is also makes me think, like, how many people in like we even had that episode where we were like blasting people about being wild homophobic on the Twitter streets, like once they talked about having queer education in the thing. So this brought me back to that and was just like, oh, also, and I think I was extra triggered because it was definitely like white women. Like, I'm really not with this. Like, it's Burke's Republican women. Like, y'all are dead trash.
Oh my God. When I tell you, I had met someone and she had the nerve to tell me, like, we're sitting there. I forget where I was, but we're sitting there and she's like, oh, I can't wait for them to open up the economy. And then I must have like gave her like some type of look. I don't know. Cause she was like, well, yeah, I guess I would feel different if I lost someone. And it's just like, why does something have to be literally at your doorstep? It has to be in your home in order for you to even have a simple type of sympathy or empathy. And it's just kind of frustrating because these are like, if we don't do something about it now, especially people in our group, like what Manny was saying, like that range from like 35 to 18, we're not gonna see any progress. We're gonna have the same status quo. And what gets me so mad is because we have any type of little progress, or any type of progress that's online, what we should be going up for, but instead, for some reason, and that's the thing. That's why I stopped like going on Twitter, is because people are wrong and loud. Like, you can't even, like, you're wrong and you're loud, and there's something to that. It's just like, I don't know. I guess I'm like, for real, it just frustrates me, especially because, like, with the activism I do, like lately I've been feeling like, what's the point? Like, I won't lie. Like, I'm like, and that's the thing that really kind of hurts me to say, but like, I don't really like. I'm like, yo, I could be so much better off if I just care about myself. Like, if I stop doing activist, like.
But that's just not in our nature. We're not no vicious capitalists. As much as these niggas on the timeline try to make sure that this is the way to go and this is what's gonna save us, oh, get the fuck out of my face.
Jeff Bezos.
Oh.
How to become a whole trillionaire? You gotta be.
off
crazy.
the exploitation
Of
of
the
Black people.
pandemic. And on top of that, like, he doesn't even give his workers a great work environment. They're not getting paid enough. And this is what made me so like I was just extremely pissed, because it's not just like Amazon. It is so many of these big corporations, Disneyland, all these big ass corporations that they make so much money. The owner has so much money. They have all this money, and the workers are making $12 an hour, worst working conditions, the shittiest benefits. Like, and it's usually people of color, or just women of color, or just Black and brown people. It's us that are working these jobs, and they can't quit because they're living for that paycheck life. And he's a whole trillionaire. If you take 12% of his debt, 12% of his money, that will get us out of debt. That will be able to give us reparations. That will get us out of student loan forgiveness. Like, all of that. Just to think about that. And he can't even pay his workers a decent wage, or better working environment, or better benefits.
There's strikes happening every fucking week. Like, literal strikes happening every time.
Yeah, and that's so weird to me, because how is it even possible, like, for people to go up for this man? Like there's
because
certain
money
things
means
that
success.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the thing that we it's so frustrating, because on one side it's like, I understand, like, as someone who has that type of spirit, like that hustler's motivation, I understand, like, go get it by any means necessary. But then when you sit down and have conversations with people, and you actually talk to that person who is not, mind you, you are not in the same lane as Jeff Bezos. You will probably never be. And I'm sorry, like,
Jeff Bozo.
People don't understand, like, I'm sorry, that's what I call him. But yeah, like, how are you, like, you rather sympathize with someone who is not in your lane at all than actually be standing next to you, people who actually go for you, like, for your brothers and sisters, like the people you have more in common with, the people that work in Amazon, than Jeff Bezos. But instead you're like, oh, well, I hate people who just want to stir the pot for no reason. Like, go get a fucking life. Like, I'm sorry, like, that shit irks my soul. Like, if you're like, you want to play devil's advocate, and it's not cool. It's not, like my grandmother would say, that's not cute. Like, you don't even know, like, people don't know their history. How can people, especially Black people, talk about, oh, Tuskegee Airmen, you talk about the civil rights movement, and you have so much pride in your history, but you're gonna let this white man, you're gonna stand with this white man who and by just submitting some of his wealth would be able to clear the path for so many, and not just yourself, but so many other individuals who don't got it, like elderly people with special needs. But you rather be, and that's the thing, is like, oh my God, yo, when I tell you guys, like, from like my activism to spiritual to like my religion, like, I can't sit as a Christian. Like, you cannot call yourself a Christian and then stand in someone's greed. Like, a lot of people have been like making me look at my own morals, because like, y'all got the game fucked up. Like, you really do. And it's like, you guys, like I don't have the words. I don't have the ability to talk in an intellectual manner when it comes to life and death. Like, niggas is getting on my fucking nerves. Like, that's really that.
Wells Fargo, that whole, I don't know who has Wells Fargo. Whoever does, I feel bad for you, because Marquise, please do better. Please.
I know.
There's a whole documentary on fucking Netflix on how Wells Fargo makes money off of accounts and stuff like that. Like, yep. And almost every CEO has quit because of them exploiting the account holders, how they're running the company. Like, you need to watch this documentary. Like, but this is the thing. This is how it is with almost every like big business in America, and that's what pisses me off with the whole idea of people supporting capitalism and everything like that. Because even when I work at, like, not to like diss what I work at, but like hospitals, like the CEOs are doing great and everything like that. But when it comes to the actual workers, we're drowning. We are drowning, especially. And that's why I was like, yo, I don't know if the CEO or whatever the case may be, or Trump or government, they just don't give a fuck about hospitals or something like that, because we don't have enough PPE. We don't have enough money. We don't have, I mean, we probably do have enough money because we're buying, like I got an email the other day that we're spending money on this like these new video technology and shit like that. And I'm like, if you have money to buy 50 of those per hospital out of the 7 hospitals you guys just purchased, you don't give a fuck about your workers. How are we working with COVID patients? We don't have enough gowns. We don't have enough equipment. We're not even getting a pay raise during this time. We're at the same pay raise. And half of 1,000 of our workers just got laid off. Like, it doesn't make sense to me how all these businesses are booming and they do not give a fuck about their workers. Like, you literally have to have no heart to give a fuck about who is running your company, who is making what it is, who's doing all the backbone. And it makes sense, because like that's how it is in America when it comes to immigrants and stuff like that. They're really doing the hard work. They work more than majority of the Americans that are working, if you think about it, and then they go unnoticed. They don't get the benefits of being American. They have to go through all these trials and tribulations for all this other shit. But it's like, it's very like, it actually angers me, because there's people that can't quit their job or can't go on strike because they don't know when their next meal is going to be.
Right.
So it's just shit like that, on how he's becoming a whole trillionaire during a pandemic, and their workers don't have all the conditions that they need to stay afloat during this time. It's been like this even before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely heightened during this pandemic, and that shit is just trash.
Yo, talk about it, because that's the shit that's really just been pissing me off, because more and more this is really just kind of shown like business wise, like people just frankly don't give a fuck. Like, we already know they didn't give a fuck about the bottom line, but this just added more to it. The fact that niggas are going up for Jeff Bezos, and like, I think this is why, like, I've been thinking about it more and more. I'm just like, this is why Black as Fuck didn't really ring for me, because in the middle of a pandemic where people are struggling, the fact that you're telling us about your rich ass life, now when I think about it, I think the show irked me more, because I did not feel like hearing about this fucking utopia of like, oh, here's my rich people problems. I don't give a fuck. Same thing when Kanye decided to announce he was a billionaire. I don't give a fuck.
It's not one blow, like 3.3 billion. Nobody gives a fuck.
Don't care.
Not, especially not during this time where the most, like, we're hit and we're the most vulnerable right now.
Right. And that's why I'm just like, at this point, like, if people are still gonna be going up for a lot of like these trash ass institutions, and like the fact that somebody is an actual trillionaire by 2026, he is more than projected due to COVID, like, to be a trillionaire, which is wild. So when you really think about that, like, y'all listed out every single thing that you can do with $1 trillion fucking dollars, but what are you doing with all that money?
Bro, you can buy your own island and get away from the COVID right now.
Yep. And it's just wild. So I'm just like, at this point, I've just been like very tired. Like, I've been trying my best not to necessarily engage with like a lot of like bullshit on Twitter, because I'm also just trying to like serve as a space of like, here's actual like resources. Like, yeah, I'll challenge some things, but also like, I've been talking about like what I've been watching on TV more. Like, I'm talking about like books that I'm reading more, just so that way our mind can get off of the fact that we're living in the middle of a pandemic that people don't know how to necessarily get out of. Like, I've been trying to like support even like smaller Black businesses, because I'm lucky enough to still have all three of my jobs. Like, the demand for like my clients went up. The like school stuff, like, I have to develop these new digital curriculums and what those look like. Like, there is so much where I'm just like, we don't even have the resources like all there for our students to have like the best possible experience. Like, you got to make sure they're getting Wi-Fi. You have to make sure they're getting this. And then everybody's just like, that's why there's like a little bit of like, I understand why like we can start pocket watching the fucking celebrities. Like, they're starting to have to understand like, hey, y'all have the money to do so. Do what Beyonce did. Do what Rihanna did, like, is doing. Like, provide that kind of space if you really want to talk about like this quote unquote compassionate capitalism that people want to try and like do, which is a complete oxymoron. Like, put your money where your mouth is, and don't ask for donations. Don't ask for us to like be part of like this telethon with y'all, because we don't have the money to do so. Like, I get what it's like to live from paycheck to paycheck. I got it. My ass is still doing it. I'm only just starting to get like a decent savings account and like what that looks like. I only just started my savings account last month. Like, and out of each check, like $50 comes out of each one to kind of go for that and just let it build. And I just forget that that money's there. But it's like, in reality, like, there are so many other people out there. Like, my students have to still work. My students have to go into the grocery store and work at the grocery store. And then people are real trash to the people working in the grocery stores. Like, they want to be mad and shit about like, oh, well, why isn't this moving fast enough? And why is it doing this? Because everybody's so programmed to get like everything instantaneously. Like, you don't even know to like just be patient and slow down. Like, the rewiring that everybody is having right now, it's like fucking everybody up. But it's gonna take time for people to just, I hope like post-COVID, like people just have a little bit more compassion in their heart and people have like a little bit more like love, especially for like the service industry. Cause there are times where I'm just like, I remember like when the nurse was just like, y'all, I'm gonna quit. And people were dragging the black lady for like saying, I can't put myself at risk this way. Then we also have people who just were like critiquing teachers and were just like, one day teachers are your heroes, the next day teachers aren't doing enough, but just not having like that precedent of like, hey, this is new territory for everybody. So I've just been annoyed between anti-blackness, capitalism just exhausting, people who just talk out the side of their neck and aren't actually saying much of anything. They just think a bunch of big words together. Means you're smart, but in reality, you can say a lot and say nothing at the exact same time. That's just where I've been at. I've been like in this space of like not giving a fuck and not wanting to be cordial in terms of like other creatives and just like this respectable nature that we sometimes have in a small city where we're just like, we know these people, so like we don't want to like critique them either. So I've just been like in a weird space with that conversation and like what that looks like and all that, but I'm over it. I'm hungry.
Marquise, what is this one cooking? What's Amanda cooking?
I don't know. She's in her room. I'm about to just order some Chipotle, to be honest.
Chipotle?
Yeah, I get free chips and guac today, so
I'm not mad at you.
it's only down the street, so I'm just like, I'm gonna have a happy insecure night.
Yeah, insecure is coming on soon.
Yeah, but is there anything else for the good of the order? Because we started ranting, and I feel like we all just need to get all them things off of our chests because
Jesus.
It's just ghetto.
I just want to say one more thing. French Montana, stop coming for Kendrick. Don't do it.
What? He still.
Yeah, like he was still coming for like Kendrick, and him and Young Thug were going at it for a while. I'm tired of him. Nobody speaks his name when it comes to rap. Let's be honest. So
Same thing with Aubrey. I'm actually tired of Aubrey too.
Like, I'm tired.
I'm crying.
I swear, I never muted and blocked so many people until quarantine hit. Like, I muted like half of Reading because I'm tired.
You got to.
Look, love y'all, but also
I don't love y'all. You guys need some healing, some spiritual, like traumatic issues you need to work on.
Unpack a lot.
And then we may talk.
Right.
Until then, y'all are muted and blocked.
I still love them, but I don't. Feels like a one-way street with me pouring to people, but them not pouring back. And yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
That's a fact.
Listen, you can't let them drain you.
Nope. That's why I interact with people that I interact with, and then I keep it pushing that way. So if you're doing something good, I'm definitely going to be retweeting it. If you say some fuck shit, I'll probably just want to embarrass you publicly. And that's just my black ass joy sometimes. So
I've learned to not even give certain people attention because they're looking for that attention. They want that shit. That's the whole reason why 6ix9ine has his platform, because he's looking for that attention, trolling and stuff.
And the fact that he had the largest IG live just really shows like y'all really do not give a fuck about black culture at all. Y'all like that shit as a caricature. You like that shit on display. Y'all like to participate in that shit. But in reality, like, you make a joke out of it and it becomes even more dangerous. Like, you want to be in this rap game, you want to be part of this rap life, and you want to be a caricature of like gangs and stuff like that. But in reality, if you're really not about that, like, keep it pushing. And I know it's like a generational thing, but I'm also just like, I'm not feeding into it. Like, somebody from the Don't Alert the Stands, that podcast, they were talking about it, and the one host, Eads McKenzie, he said it perfectly. He's like, if I don't like you, I'm not interacting with you. Like, you do not exist. Like, 6ix9ine does not exist in his mind at all. His music doesn't exist. His shenanigans don't exist. He has him blocked on all accounts. Like, and honestly, that's been the energy, to be completely honest. Like, there's no point in me having to indulge in that bullshit when I know our good sis JoJo released a great project. Kiana Lede released a great project. Like, all these projects have been released, and we want to give that bozo attention? Fuck out of here. Y'all got me fucked up.
Exactly. That's what happened with the whole bad Barbie girl, whatever her name is.
Oh, fuck her too.
Stop giving people attention. I literally act like people don't exist. I'm not giving you the attention that you're seeking. I refuse to give you, because then that gives you the momentum to come out with the music. It gives you the momentum to make the money to make that music video. It gives you, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to act like you don't exist and go about my day.
Period. And you know what niggas should be doing right now? Stream Chloe and Halle. Do it. That new video? Fire. Support the girls. That's on period. Because I think women are about to take over. Because Chloe and Halle drop on June 5th. Tiana Taylor drops on June 5th. Like, June is about to be a fucking monumental month in terms of Black women in music. And
Italy's open back up June 5th.
Not Italy.
Girl, this shit ain't opening back up.
They already announced it. It's in the news.
Oh, look, DC had a soft opening too. Like,
Marquise, let's go.
He said mimosas, baby girl, Astrid.
Day party.
Yo, that's a fact. But yeah, they're not. Yeah, so it's so fascinating because I'm just like, I'm interested to see what happens when people have another premature opening. Especially since like DC is like having like a soft opening kind of thing of putting the state back up. So we're on quarantine until June 4th. So in Pennsylvania. So
it's because niggas was grilling this weekend. This is what's wrong.
Yeah.
I went on a whole nature walk. These niggas had like 10 different parties going on. I'm like, no mask in sight.
Oh, not the no mask. Yesterday when I dropped the Johns off at Alira's apartment, it is wild because like there's like this rooftop thing in Philly that you can go to. Yeah. So after that, I met them there for like a couple minutes, and yo, everybody was up there, but it was like mask off. Everybody was up there. And I was shook because mind you, like, they're walking around. There's gloves, there are masks. The Black people, surprisingly, doing what the fuck they needed. Not surprisingly, Black people just been knowing what they needed to do. Not all Black people. Like, sometimes I am those Black people. But look, when I went on that jog, I could not have a mask on. Like, I'm not sweating under my mask. Like, that shit was so uncomfortable. But the jogging's been nice. So it hasn't completely, like, fucked me up. I have actual running shoes coming in. So that'd be nice. But yeah, no, it's just been like real wild, and I'm just tired.
Same.
Yeah.
Call this episode Lean On Me. Thanks, guys. I really needed to vent.
Yeah, I feel you there. Like, I'm probably gonna go to sleep early again. I've been tired by like 10:30 and just don't feel like going out. So
even my sleep pattern's been messed up. I've been waking up like at 3 a.m. on the dot, and I don't know why.
Oh, that's demon time, girl. What you talking about?
I know. I'm telling you, my great grandmother. Yeah, well, listen, yes, my great grandmother told me, she's like, "Oh, if you wake up at 3 o'clock, that's because the demon woke you out your sleep." So then I'm like, my sister's not here. I ain't got nothing else to do.
Bree, I don't know why you're blaming that shit on your sister. You know you are the demon that lives in that house.
Wow. I don't. First of all, I'm one of the good Christians. No,
I just like fucking with you, Bree. That's it.
Marquise, I can't stand your ugly ass.
Ugly? Who's ugly?
Ugly. You're ugly.
Me? Never. You know what?
Where?
That's it. We're done. So what we're doing is we're gonna move on to the Dear Reading segment. This is the open love letter to the city of Reading, and I'm gonna start real quick. Dear Reading, fuck Pusha Bree.
Wow, that's how you gonna do it? That's crazy.
I thought it was funny.
And I was like, you know what? It's cool. I was gonna make something and send it your way, but forget about it.
Oh, I'm cracking up. That's really gonna be like a Dear Reading shirt. Is like fuck D Will. Another Dear Reading shirt is gonna be like love thy neighbor.
Who is the most problematic person? Marquise.
Bree. And we're walking. So now we can move on to the actual Dear Reading, because that one was just like, that was just for my personal humor. So Dear Reading, it's where we keep an open love letter to the city of Reading, and we reflect on whatever we talked about during this episode or a piece of advice that you want to give to the city. So does anybody want to start?
Because I already know what Bree's are called. But anyways, Dear Reading, make sure you protect your mental health, because especially during this time, it's very well needed, and there's going to be so many things that try to drain your energy and drain just who you are, but make sure to protect yourself and your mental health.
Thanks. Bree, did you want to go next, or do you want me to go?
You can go.
All right. So Dear Reading, a lot of this episode was not just like a vent session, but also a conversation on like getting inspired and like finding your purpose and figuring out how to show up as a community and stuff like that. And in community, that also means conflict will arise, disagreements will happen. So just continue to practice mindfulness, but also I want to echo what Marie says, like find those things that bring you like your joy during these times. So outside has given me joy in terms of like going out in the morning and taking a 2-mile walk and then sitting down and reading outside. Like that has been so nice. Like sunlight is a very necessary component to me living and me staying like alive. So sunlight, thank you. Appreciate the little things, but also just figure out those things that will allow you to keep somewhat finding a semblance of normalcy and help for yourself during this unprecedented time, because it shows up differently for everybody.
Dear Reading. Love thy neighbor.
I did.
We need to get a Love Thy Neighbor compilation.
Honestly, we need to make that into like a whole Dear Reading like merch logo.
Yeah.
Smart.
Love Thy Neighbor.
Dear Reading.
Wow. Cracking up. All right. Are there any church announcements? Is there anything we should be looking forward to from anybody? Excuse me.
Yes, I think just look out for my blog. It's doing really well. I haven't posted anything new, but the views continue to go up. So I'm very happy about that. I try to post a lot of educational and inspirational things. If you haven't subscribed, I think you should subscribe. You'll really like it. I don't know who hasn't. Yeah.
Gang. Marie, you got anything else coming up?
Besides my new video for YouTube, I have something else, but I don't want to say it yet.
Oh, okay. We'll hold off.
That's it. Nothing much, you know. I'll be being an essential worker.
Facts. And I don't have anything new coming up. So it's just I've been doing like a nice little content break type joint like that. So it's been very nice. But yeah, only thing is, if you wanted to go listen to that conversation on the Black response to police brutality and police violence, that is up on the Dear Reading page. It's also up on my personal page. So feel free. It was a very insightful panel. Some things I didn't agree with all the way through, but we out here, and that's the point of public disagreement and public discussion. So we out here. Cool?
Cool beans.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Thank y'all for still rocking with us. Our 2-year anniversary is coming up July 7th. Dear Reading is a Cancer. Fun fact.
Wow. I did not know this.
Yes, July 7th will be the 2-year anniversary of debuting
Gang, gang.
as a new team. So we got to figure out something to do to come big and hard for that day, because we gonna be laid up in the bed like 2 years. Where the time go?
Where the time go?
Facts. All right. So on that note,
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
see
Love
y'all.
you.
See you. Much love. Bye, Manny.
And Manny.
Bye.
Bye.